Welcome to the Peak Mindset Show. My name is Mathew Park, and our aim is to inspire people to wake up in actualizing their true inner potential through learning from the masters in life, business, and athletics. And today we have a fun-filled guest all the way from the United Kingdom. She is half French, half Belgian, and was born in Tokyo. She's almost like a half-breed hybrid of some kind, very unique. And grew up in this unique place, which I'm trying to pronounce properly, called Dusseldorf. Is that correct?
Dusseldorf.
Johannesburg, Vienna, and Hamburg. Those are some big names. After finishing her bachelor's in finance in Boston, she moved to London to work in finance for 3 years, and after a life-changing experience in coaching, she quit her job in finance and completed a master's in psychology and psychiatry at King's College and a coaching qualification with the Coaching Academy. She is obsessed with learning from mindset, business success, and neuroscience, and she's a no-excuses girl, taking full responsibility for all the areas of her life with a crazy amount of energy, passion, and aliveness that will fire us up today. Fun is her first value, learning is her second, and contribution is her third. Let's gear up, guys, as I want to welcome to the show the results coach, Olivia Charlet.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here.
And I was asking Olivia about your accent. You had no accent because you have this hybrid. So tell us about that quick.
So I was born in Japan, and my parents were French and Belgian, so we learned French at home first. So that was my native language, and it was my first language. And then when we were like 4 or 5 years old, we first learned English in school. And so the teachers were mostly American, so we picked up a more American twang.
That's fantastic. So right now, Olivia, you're obviously over in Europe right now, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
What's exciting right now in your life? Tell us something that's happened in your life that's kind of exciting.
Oh, there's so many things. I got engaged in July. That was very exciting. My business is like an absolute joy and really growing massively. So that's very exciting. And I've been doing a lot of travel. I went to the Maldives, Iceland over the last couple of months, and I'm going to Costa Rica in March. So that's all super exciting.
What's in Costa Rica?
So I'm going to a program called Under 30 Experiences, and it just really spoke to me. The guys who started it up were just really my type of people, and so there's a group, I think like a 12 or 13 of us who are all going together, and we're just going to go discover like the rainforest and the beaches and the local area, and it's just going to be really good fun, I think.
That sounds exciting. Now, are you actually under 30?
Yes, I'm 28.
That's fantastic. Way to go. Wow, you're just a go-getter in life. I love it.
Yeah.
Nice. So now, being you're half French, half Belgium, and I believe born in Tokyo, correct?
That's right.
Okay. So you also speak French, which I understood.
Okay.
And you speak also German and like 3 other languages?
Yeah, so I speak so English, obviously, French because my parents spoke it at home. So that's when we'd go home from school, that's what we would speak. And then I speak German because we were living in Austria where they speak German, and we lived in Germany for the like 4 or 5 years because we spent 2.5 years in Dusseldorf and then 2 years later in Hamburg. So yeah, those 3 languages.
Interesting. And whatever got you into this field? Because you said in your bio that you had this life experience change of coaching, like, and finance, being in the world of finance. So what was this big transition that happened for you?
So I think that like a lot of people, when I remember being kind of 16, 17, 18, I thought to myself, okay, like what's the next best step? And somebody who I really looked up to was my dad, who had always worked at the same company and who'd sort of gone up the corporate ladder. And he looked really happy and he did loads of travel and he just genuinely enjoyed himself. So I thought, oh, maybe that's like a really good bet. And I'd always been fascinated by business in general. So I thought, oh, should be good. So I did a bachelor's in business at Boston University for 4 years. And that drew me to then working in finance at Bloomberg for about 3 years. And I think you kind of get to a point, for me personally, it was when I was 25, I realized that I wasn't really using my strengths or my gifts. And I also felt like what I was doing was not really truly fulfilling or rewarding. So I decided to start figuring out what would be more just, something that was actually going to make a difference in the world. Like, I feel like we live here once, and I wanted to make an impact and I wanted to contribute in some way, but using what I have available to me, because I think everyone's given like their own little golden nuggets. And so I did a coaching weekend by accident almost. And by just being coached a little bit, I realized that I was in completely the wrong arena. And so, yeah, that's what turned me into a coach, I guess.
That's incredible. So you're a results coach, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And you do business coaching, you do results coaching, you also do, I believe, mindset coaching too?
Yeah, so I would say it's like I work specifically with entrepreneurs who are obsessed with their calling, who are obsessed with their mission in the world, and who are obsessed with growing and learning and serving others. And I help them to make, a lot more money than they're currently making, and just help them really feel into a crazy level of fulfillment, like really where they're like, oh my God, I've had clients very often say, I feel like I'm living in a dream. Like, and that's my favorite thing ever for people to say, because that's super crazy. And like, yeah, so that's what I do. So it's a bit of a mix.
What's something you could share with us, Olivia, about like when you take a client maybe who's running a business and they're making, I would say, a good amount of money, but they just aren't fulfilled, but they want to take their money. Let's talk about money first. So they're taking their money, they want to take their money to the next level, maybe double their revenues or triple their revenues in a year. What would you tell them?
I think that, and it's interesting that you said, let's start with the money. I would start with the cravings. So I would look into, because what I found is, let's say, for example, you've just gone to see a movie at the cinemas like yesterday and you loved it. Like you were like obsessed and you're like, oh my God, that's the best movie I've seen in so long. You're going to tell literally every friend and you're going to sell them on that movie, and every one of your friends is going to go watch that movie. So why is that the case? It's because you were so passionate about it. You were so excited about it. You had energy that was coming through you, right? So I believe that, and that's why I believe Steve Jobs did such an excellent job, is because you could feel his passion for his products and he had energy around it. So I think the number one thing I would look at with any business, and I've helped people who, different kinds of businesses, and it really looking at, where's the energy? Where's the passion? Where are the cravings? Because when we can tap into that, we can then understand, okay, well, how can we bring that out into the world? And I really believe that, a lot of people do it the other way around. Like in business school, they taught us to go find a problem and a need and then go fill that need and problem. I actually often go the other way around, because I believe that our cravings are not there by accident. I think that they're there for a reason, or even the cravings or passion for a specific product or service. So I'd go into that, nail that down fully and completely, and get really specific around it, and then go out to the market. And because your level of energy, you can basically sell anything. I mean, obviously then you'd want to find, who is this for? Who's going to be obsessed with this just as much as you are? Who are your tribe of people that are going to be hell yeses? And then it's just literally, you've got something, and then there are these people who need it, and then it's just connecting the two. And yet we make it so much more like complex. I definitely did for the first year. So yeah.
Define what you mean by cravings.
So I guess there's a lot. The first thing that usually comes to mind for people is like food cravings, which is good. I think that's a good way to think about it. But it's really answering that question. Like, again, it depends what kind of business you run. So it would be different based off of who I'm speaking to. But what do you crave? Like, what do you crave to, who do you crave to serve? That's a really good question. Like, I crave to serve people who are obsessed with their mission and who are obsessed with serving others, because that's where I get my like juices. That's what's really fun for me. But then for you, it might be something completely different. So in terms of cravings, it's really asking yourself, what do you deep down truly desire to offer? Or what do you deep down truly want to create? What excites you, what lights you up, what pumps you up, what like makes you feel. And I mean, there's so many questions, but even just answering those and just having like a stream of consciousness can get you into a different, I think, level of thinking. And it could be products, but it could also be services.
Interesting. So obviously you're a pretty avid learner.
Yes.
So I want to know how obsessed you are about learning. So tell us like how much learning you do in a day. Like, are you reading like a book, an encyclopedia? Like are you like surfing the latest research projects online?
Well, yeah, like, no, I am really, that is the word for it, obsessed. I would say that 50% of my day, maybe even 60% of my day is spent on learning. Okay. So whereas somebody else would be doing like operations or marketing or like other things, like I spend probably 50 to 60% a day on learning. And that's also on the weekends, because what I do, I'm just fascinated by it. And I am just really passionate. So that can be anything from reading a book to reading some research around something, to watching video trainings on like neuroscience stuff, just because it's all kind of interlinked. To attending events. Like I love learning. So I'll go to an event and I'll just like absorb like a sponge. And then the reason I love to learn is because then once I've applied it to my own life, I can then share if it's worked. And if I need to tweak it, fine tune it, like whatever, and then I can share it with others. So that's also why I have such a passion for learning, because it goes full circle.
That's fantastic. So out of the three areas, you mentioned, I believe, mindset, success, and neuroscience. Was there one more?
Mindset, success, and neuroscience, and then just business in general. I find business models fascinating, like just understanding why certain models work and others do not. I just find that really interesting.
Out of the three, though, which one would you pick if you had to pick one?
Oh, mindset.
Mindset? Cool.
Yeah.
Now define mindset by your standards.
I interpret mindset as the beliefs and thoughts that you have. As simply as that. If you want to go like more esoteric, it'd be like how you see the world, how you see people, how you see money, how you see sales, how you see everything in the world. Because what you believe and how you see things is going to have a huge influence on the thoughts that you have, which will then have an influence on the behavior that you have, which will then have an influence on obviously those actions and therefore your results. So I just think it all starts with your mindset.
If there was another word you could choose instead of mindset, what would that be? That would term the same terminology, you think?
That's a good question. It would be programming could be one of them. Okay. Like your programming, how you, like imagine that your head is like one of those old desktop computers and it's just like got loads of files in them. Yeah. Like loads of documents and files. It's like the storage that you have in your head. I think that would be like a different way to describe it and see it if you're more of a visual person.
So I am so curious. I want to know, because you're obviously an obsessed learner. So what's one thing that you've learned like in the last week or two that's just been like, even the last month, it's been like, oh my gosh, it's insane. I love it. What's it been? I'm curious.
So one thing, and there have been like, I could tell you 10, but one thing specifically that straight away comes to mind is I'm reading a book right now on neuroscience, mindset, and business. So it like compiles the three. But the one thing in particular, what was really interesting is that they found out through research and through scientific evidence that actually imprinting new empowering beliefs and visualizing has a huge influence on your results. And one exercise in particular that they give, and they give a whole bunch, was closing your eyes and imagining and feeling yourself into something that you've done and accomplished and that you were so proud of, and you felt like you were like high on life and you just felt like you were just incredible basically. And you get into that state, you get into that feeling, you get into that energy, and in that moment you take on a new empowering belief that you don't believe yet, and you bring it in exactly the same time. And what that creates is a neural link in your mind, and therefore it's almost like it's kind of like a myelin in your body in terms of learning. You basically create a new link in your brain, and it's much more quick to then absorb it. Whereas if let's say for example, you believe that it's really hard to make money. I know like a lot of entrepreneurs, maybe even just people in general, think that it's really hard to make money. If you'd rather want to believe that it's really easy to make money and it's a joke to make money, it's super fun to make money, then what you would do is you would think of one of those moments, get into that state of mind, and then whilst you're still in that energy and that vibration and that state, you take that belief and you put it in. And at first it's gonna feel so good. It's weird. Like I would highly recommend like listeners to try it out, because it feels so good. You're like, oh my God, I kind of believe it, because you're linking it up together. So, and if you do that, I do that 3 times a day now. It's really cool. It's really powerful.
What's this book that you're reading called? What's it called?
It's called The Answer by John Assaraf.
Oh, John Assaraf. Perfect. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to write that down, actually. That's really good. So now, okay, to go back into the actual technique you were talking about for that process, what you're saying is visualizing, so knowing what the belief actually is, what you're saying. So knowing what the actual new belief is, being aware of the old belief, and then visualizing it happening a few times per day, basically, the new shift, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, ideally, I think some people would say, I can just feel the listeners thinking, well, how do I know what my limiting beliefs are? because I think some people don't know what their programming is in their head. So the easiest way is, one, to see your results, which is always hard to see. And then you're like, oh, and then two, to just, for example, finish sentences like money is, sales are, people are, and finishing those sentences. And that will tell you, and if you just do that 20 times for each one of those fill in the blanks, you'll find out what your subconscious mind believes about those types of things. And then those are your limiting beliefs. So you can then find the opposite of that limiting belief, which will be an empowering belief, and you can use those for that exercise.
You're lucky we have a cap on time, because I could talk to you for 3 hours. This is this is like a series of conversations. We're gonna get down here and dirty on this stuff. So good. Okay, so I want to dig into some other stuff here too. So when it comes to like your brand building process, okay. One thing I noticed, obviously your website looks fantastic, by the way. Very good job, Olivia.
Thank you.
When it comes to building a presence online, though, I want to ask you about authenticity and how people can get stuck on the ego and other people and what they're doing, and then obviously what truly means something that's meaningful to people. So how do you coach someone or tell someone in building an authentic, real brand how important that is, or how to do that properly?
That's a really good question, and it's like such a big part of what I do coaching on. The number one thing is focusing on others. I think it's the only reason, I mean, Tony Robbins, I think, says this, something like this. He's like, the only reason we suffer is because we're focused on ourselves. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that. As soon as you put your focus on your audience members who are struggling, because remember, like, why are you doing this in the first place? Whether you're Steve Jobs or Walt Disney or, you know, whoever you are looking to solve somebody else's problem, and they're frustrated and they're worried or they're anxious or they're stressed. So going back to that, and then asking yourself, how can I best serve these people and help them solve their problem before they even pay you any money? How can you already solve at least part of their problem or one of their problems? That's the easiest way to go back to authenticity, because you're no longer focused on who am I to do this or can I do this? Those questions they just simply do not come up anymore when you're in that state.
Interesting. This is really, really amazing. Okay. I love it. So someone who right now has a brand online, I'm actually making notes here. I usually don't make notes very often, but you got me thinking here so much in this interview. So cool. Someone is actually online building their own brand, and what would you tell them as their first step? And I would say shifting away from, I would say, the wrong ego, type, mentality, as opposed to more like an authentic, heart-centered process. What would you tell them as their first step to shift away from what they were doing to what they should be doing, and going in that right direction to really be real about what they're doing?
I think the first question would be, if money was no object, what would I love to do right now? Who would I love to be? And what would I love to do? Because I think a lot of times we start hitting, the reason I say this is because I speak to so many clients, we start hitting these blocks or these walls, and then we're like, oh, I can't move further, or I can't get to the next level. Well, it's because, again, you've lost touch with what it is that you actually want. And then you've started thinking about money and how's this going to work. Instead, it's like removing all of the money stuff, because I think that clouds our thinking. And instead going to, okay, if money was no object and I was truly here to serve, and I could do anything I wanted, and I had 100% conviction that I would succeed, what would I want? And who would I want to be? And how would I want to show up as? And all of a sudden, it's like, boom, boom, boom. What you're going to come up with is going to be real stuff. It's going to be authentic. And it's going to be so you. And there's not going to be any... I think, I'm not a big fan. I wouldn't work with somebody who's doing it just for the money. I think money is beautiful, and I love money, and money is an incredible tool. But I would never work with somebody who is only doing it for the money, just because I think then your incentives are slightly different and you're thinking in a different way and so on. So I think it's stepping away from that. Even as an entrepreneur, I know that people struggle, or even if you're in a 9-to-5 job, sometimes you do, you're scared, and especially in the beginning, and I understand that. I work with a lot of clients who are brand new entrepreneurs, but still you want to get away from that and then pull back in. Yeah.
Okay, going back to your learning process, because you said you spend almost half of your time learning. Okay. How the heck do you schedule those kind of days? I really want to know these secrets. Do you have, because I notice right now you probably have a team of people probably behind you helping you with your business. So what are you doing as far as your routine scheduling to make that happen so you have time to learn every day?
That's a really good question. And I think the first thing was that I had to really understand that was going to just be such a big factor in my success and in my fulfillment, both of those things. Because I guess I'm in the belief that if I get really good at what I do, and I can help other people get insane levels of results, like extraordinary results, what tends to happen then is they start raving to everyone. So they become my marketing team. So instead of me spending loads of money on paid marketing or other things, and don't get me wrong, like I do spend some money on Facebook ads, but ultimately a lot of it is through referrals. It's through people, or not even referrals, just public raving testimonials of people just doing it for me and me just being able to sit back, right? So what I mean by that is, if I focus so much on the quote unquote product, which is myself and my brain, because I run a service-based business, then ultimately when I do speak to my clients, whether that's a group program or my membership tribe and website or my one-on-one clients or my even in-person intensives, it's like top-notch stuff. And then they're going to get really good results, right? So in terms of planning, I guess, one, I put it as a priority. Like I don't put it as a second, I put it as number one priority because I know that that's going to impact my customers. It's kind of like Richard Branson says that he would rather spend all of his energy, time, and money on his employees because he knows that they're going to be dealing with their customers, right? So that's what I think. And so I wake up at 6:30 a.m. I do a mindset routine. I work out practically every day. I eat breakfast, and then I just start reading and training and taking notes and learning. And then my calls are often in the afternoon, like video trainings or group calls or one-on-one coaching calls. So that's kind of how I work. And then weekends are also spent just like doing loads of reading and learning.
So I want to ask you specifically exactly your routine. So 6:30 you wake up in the morning. What do you do? So
6:30 a.m., which is a really good time because that's usually when my fiance wakes up for work. So we wake up 6:30 a.m. and then I'll either do straight away a workout then and there. So something like a circuit workout or high intensity interval training or some sort of like yoga, or I'll have breakfast with my fiance because I think we love like that time together. And then I'll go off to a yoga class or a circuit class or a Pilates class. And then I'll come back, do my mindset work for anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour. And then from there, start learning, training, taking notes. And then I'll do 3 times a day. I'll do visualization and it's quite a thing. It's quite a process, but I really believe in it. So there you go.
For how long though, Olivia? So when you're doing your visualization, is it for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes? How long are you doing that for?
I'm doing it for about 9 minutes. So 4 minutes of meditation, just so I can get into some vibrations that are like a little bit more like on the subconscious level. And then 3 or 4 minutes of visualization, and then 3 or 4 minutes of empowering, like bringing new empowering beliefs into my mind in that vibrational state.
And is that your process, or was that like, where'd you get that from? I'm kind of curious.
That was tweaking and fine tuning from different people. Just because I think it's one of those things you just like take all these things and then you see what's working best for you. And then I've also started seeing what's working best for my clients. And I really do believe that it's like, there's not just one way, although that is something about the neuroscience. That's why I do like to look a little bit at like the evidence-based, because then I know that there's, not to say that that's the only way, but I prefer using things that will have been proven to work.
So just to recap, so you're saying the 9 minutes is basically this. It's about 3 minutes of meditation to kind of focus on your breath. Like, can you explain like exactly so I can put this into a process for the show notes?
Yeah, of course. So in terms of the meditation, I think I think it's really simple, like in the sense that just close my eyes. I take a couple of really deep breaths. I really slow, like as much as I have loads of energy, I'm very able to tap back very quickly into just slow and presence and being in the now. And then, so I take a couple of really deep breaths and I completely slow down. And then I feel the sensations around me and like on my chair, or just the noises like birds or something going on the window. And then counting, headspace.com does this thing where you count your breaths. So you count like, 5 breaths, not like trying to breathe, but just noticing your breaths and counting those. And I found that works really well to really center and think of nothing. So that's what I do for the meditation. And then the visualization is bringing in as much light, vibrancy, color, detail, sounds, feelings into that. So I'm really there in that moment, and I've experienced everything I want to experience, basically. And what they say in the book that I'm with John Assaraf is they say that the more you do it, the more those images happen much more quickly, because your neural links have they're really strong and they just fire very fast. So the images and the sounds just pop up very quickly. And then the last 3 minutes is about, basically, and this is from my earlier mindset work in the morning, but is when I've written out all of my vision for everything that I want, not only in my business, but other areas of my life, because I think that sometimes we've got fears that if I just work on my business, I'll lose other areas of my life. And I don't want to lose. I love every area of my life. So what I do on top of that is, so I write out all the journaling of where, like, as if it's happening now. And then I write out what would I need to believe if all of that was happening. And then those are the beliefs that I want to then reinforce and anchor into my subconscious mind.
This is awesome. I love it. Olivia, I'm actually making notes here. This is a great technique for the listeners and to learn more about what you're doing and also the process for visualization. So when you do this process, do you find that your results in your life dramatically increase?
150.
Mathew.
I mean, sometimes people ask me, how do you have so much energy? How are you so happy? Like I don't understand. Like, what does like stuff not happen to you? Like obstacles and things like that. And I, even like people like my brother, my fiance, and, my clients, like, or friends, it's like that this is just a very normal state for me. And the reason I genuinely believe that's the case is because of the mindset. And I think if you have this kind of energy, how can you not succeed? I genuinely believe a lot in state and physiology and energy, kind of Tony Robbins style, and I really do believe in that. So I just think you're going to get better ideas. You're going to be smarter when you show up. You're going to be clearer, more alert, and you're going to be able to execute like no one else, or have that competitive advantage. So I do think it works, definitely.
So here's a question for you. If there were only 3 things you could pick in your day to build the best day of your life, and you can only pick 3 things. That's it. 3 things. That's all you can do in your day. Okay, that would make the most ideal day of your life. What would those 3 things be?
Really easy. It would be reading.
Okay.
It would be working out, and it would be contributing. And that could look like anything. It could be either coaching one-on-one, group coaching call, or speaking to a room of people. Very
cool. So reading, working out, and contribution. I love it. That's awesome. Now, how would you coach somebody on building their ideal day for success? Would that be the cornerstone of that process?
Yes. So I think it would be going away, because a lot of us have shoulds. So we're either people, like a little bit of people pleasers, I have found from clients. So I used to be a total people pleaser. So we're scared to actually do what we want to do. Like I used to feel guilty that I wanted to spend half of my day learning because I didn't know anyone else who did that. So I was like, this is just lazy. You're not, how, other people aren't doing this. I had all these things, and I think a lot of us have this. Or if you want to go surfing every morning, maybe you feel guilty about doing that because you're like, nobody else gets to do this. Why should I, right? So I think it's about removing the guilt and asking yourself, okay, like if I didn't think about what everyone else thought, if I just ignored that for a second, if money was no objective, if I could have a magic wand and I could literally just draw up anything I wanted, what would I want? And I think that is a much more powerful tool, because otherwise you end up just doing a day that you think you should have.
Totally.
Right?
That's fantastic. Great advice, Olivia. This is awesome. Okay, so now I guess when it comes to your energy, you're quite motivated. Obviously, you can tell.
Yes.
Your juices are amazing. So when it comes to motivation for you, what would you tell somebody that you would need to do every day to keep energized, motivated, excited, fired up, juiced up on their life? What are those techniques that you would suggest to them?
I think 2 things. One, and this is kind of an answer that might not be great, but one is to understand what inspires you. So Let me give you an example. My brother, who's also an entrepreneur, he left his 9-to-5 job recently to run his business full time. And as soon as he left his 9-to-5 job, I told him, get a co-working space. And I gave him because I knew from entrepreneur friends, I was like, these are the 2 that you should go check out. And he was like, why? Like, why should I invest when maybe like that's a bad time to invest money? Like, I just, I only just started, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, I know you inside and out, and you get all of your energy, inspiration from being around other people. And not everyone's like that. I don't get that. I work one-on-one is great for me, or alone is great. I get a lot of energy from being alone. So again, it's like, who are you? Understanding yourself. And I was like, trust me on this one, just bank on it. And he's already almost created, like literally in the span of just doing it, like 2 or 3 clients, because he's in the right energy. So everyone's going to be different. So the first thing I would recommend is figure out what lights you up, what inspires you, what gets you going, because it will be different to other people. That's the first thing. Like if I don't spend time outside, I'm genuinely sad. If I don't work out, it's sad. I love working out. So again, knowing what inspires you. And then the second thing I would say is be around people who are more revved up than you are, because then you won't be able to help yourself. You'll be like, oh my God, I feel so inspired.
How does that happen for you? Is that possible?
Well, that's actually a really good question. What I do is I get it through books.
Okay.
I get it through books and other people, and so, for example, ideally, those people would be people like John Assaraf and Tony Robbins and Tim Ferriss, and those are the people, to me, who are the people that I really genuinely look up to, and hence why I'm attending the Business Mastery program with Tony Robbins with 500 people in June, because I want to be in his energy, around him. But otherwise, I'm in the books, I'm in the videos, and I intentionally. And otherwise, besides that, I'll go to events where people are more established than I am and are running more successful businesses. So yeah, that's what I do on my side.
Who's a female that you really admire?
Who is a female that that's a really good question.
You mentioned three males, so.
Yeah, that's true. I did mention 3 males. And that actually is another reason why I have a real thing about my mission. Okay. Who is it? Maybe somebody like Tory Burch, because I really believe in the foundation that she has set up. So probably someone like her. I really believe in giving money back to other entrepreneurs, because I really believe that entrepreneurs do want to contribute and they can have a huge impact on the world. So maybe somebody like Tory Burch. I wouldn't even necessarily, I like Oprah, for example, but I think what I love about people like Tim Ferriss or Tony Robbins or John Assaraf is they're obsessed with learning. Yeah. Like they're always wanting to one-up themselves in a good way, like in terms of innovating themselves and innovating their products and their services and all of that. So I think I don't know that many women, and maybe I'm just unaware of them. Then maybe that's absolutely true, right? Like I might not just know them. That's it.
Interesting. What's one thing you haven't shared before on maybe an interview or with a coach, or something that's very personal to you that you could share right now that's actually a valuable lesson that you could share with on the show today? I'm kind of curious.
So a lesson?
A life lesson. It could be a technique, a strategy, maybe like a challenge you've gone through, but it's something you've never shared before. Something very different and unique. Okay.
I think this is something I haven't shared before, and if I have, it's been very rare. So, so basically, I remember that about 2 years ago when I first started my business, as a lot of entrepreneurs can imagine, it's really tough in the very beginning, and you have to have I feel like you have to have a relentless focus and just total, almost like blinders on, and like nothing else is going on in that sense, and I remember finding it really hard, like making sales, making money, because I was still learning the ropes. I was still understanding, how does this game even work, and how do I get really good at this? And I remember with my fiance, I started talking about my vision. So I started being like, this is what's going to be happening and this is what's going on. And I was just like, because I knew how important it is to act as if and to start really taking on that feeling and the energy and all that. So I started saying that to him, and he wasn't surprised. Like he knows how ambitious. He's like, you're the most ambitious person I've ever met. So he already knew that. But what was really interesting is I remember asking him a question that I had learned from Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles, which was, ask your clients or the people that you're with or your friends if you could rate our relationship 1 to 10, 10 being like, oh my God, it's freaking extraordinary, everything is going so incredibly well, 1 being like, oh my God, it's down in like the dumps, where would it be? And then so I asked that question to my fiance, and he said a 9. Or I think it was like a 9, and I was like, okay. And then Jack Canfield recommends asking what would make it a 10. And so I asked my fiance, I was like, what would make it a 10? And he said, well, when you talk about your vision, or I have had this like, I've interpreted that I'm not really in this vision. And when he said this and shared this with me, it completely threw me off. I had no idea that I had been, like, unintentionally not bringing him into the vision, like not telling him, like, you're there as well, by the way. Like, yes, I'm doing all this crazy stuff and I'm helping hundreds of millions of people, but you're there and you're loving your life and you're ambitious and doing your career, and we're both there. And it's like, but I hadn't been doing that. And so what's really funny is, because if I hadn't asked that question, I would have been unaware that that was something, and it wasn't a huge thing, but it was something that him and I hadn't actually covered or touched. So I think that question is just like a freaking, like, it's an incredible question.
That's interesting. So what you're saying is you living your vision, doing your vision, along with making it a part of your partners as well. Like
Yeah.
combine the two together to really go for that goal, go for that inspiring impact.
Yeah, and I think, and I'll kind of elaborate on that one because I think some people who are like me, who are quite independent, and so is my fiance, he's like very independent. It doesn't mean that you can't have like separate independent visions. You absolutely can. Like he's got a career and he loves his career, he loves what he does, and same with me. But I think there is something to be said around, well, okay, almost like a Venn diagram. These are two visions, and then there is a section where we're in the vision together, and that might look like kids or a house or traveling and what that traveling looks like and so on, right? So I think it's that. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same vision, but it's that you've got this Venn diagram and there is at least a sliver where you're 100% in the vision, if that makes sense, together.
That makes complete sense. That's actually a really good lesson to share with the listeners on here, that 9 to 10 shift for you. So right now, where do you rate your life? A 10?
Yes. I mean, because I'm an overachiever, it's a 9, so I can always improve. But yeah, it's pretty up there, yeah.
I got to ask you, so what was one thing right now that you really want to improve on, in your skills? I'm kind of curious. Being you're an overachiever, what's one thing right now that you're thinking about that, what I want to improve on, I want to get better at, or you're working on right now? I'm kind of curious.
It's always the same thing. It's always to help people get better results. Mm-hmm. And therefore that means improving my techniques and my abilities so that I can get better results for other people.
I love it. Let's go into the peak 5 there, Olivia. This is a great interview. I'm loving the depth we're going. Number 1, okay. Do you have a coach or a mentor or someone in your life right now who's very influential to you that you would recommend or talk about or mention?
I surprisingly do not. I haven't had one for about 2.5 months now, and that was a conscious choice. So no, but the people that I would recommend as people to follow and to just absorb as much as possible would be, like I said before, Tim Ferriss, John Assaraf, and Tony Robbins. Like those are 3 people that right now I'm just really absorbing from.
If you could pick one person though in your life, like let's say one person that really impacted you the most in your life where you are today, who would that be if you had somebody?
A couple people come to mind. One being my brother, okay. Because I've always known what I want to do. And when I called him and said, I'm just checking in, what are your thoughts on this? He was always like, you already know the answer. But he was like, yeah. And he just helped me just push off that cliff each time. So my brother is one of those people. The second is a coach that I had. Her name was Regan Hillier. Mm-hmm. We worked together for 6 months one-on-one, and she was very impactful because I used to find it very stressful. So as much as I was so happy and really excited, I didn't feel this sense of peace, or I did feel a sense of peace, but I always felt a little stress, like a little layer of stress. And now I just don't experience that at all. I know that sounds maybe crazy to some people, but and that was really a lot of her work. So finding success through ease and flow, through ease and flow. So that would be a second person. And then probably my fiance, just because he's able to keep me, he's just always, it's hard to explain, but he's just always there. And it's always just like a grounding that it's really powerful. So I'd probably say those 3 people.
That's fantastic. Number 2, what is your most influential book that's been a game changer for you in your life?
Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins.
Love it. What is your most influential quote that has been a game changer for you in that department?
Life is always happening for you, not to you.
Nice. You're just on fire. I love it.
Yeah, I know these. These are good.
Good. I love it. Number 4, if you could tell your 20-year-old self, and actually you're 28, correct?
Yes.
So 8 years ago, one lesson, what would that lesson be?
Follow your cravings, even though they make no practical or logical sense.
And that means life, guys, not your food and dessert cravings?
Yeah, that's right. Life cravings.
Number 5, if there are no limits, what would your contribution be to in the world?
To help every human being feel fulfilled and feel like their life is extraordinary, almost like a dream.
I love it. And what's one thing you want to share with the audience that you haven't shared yet?
That maybe you're listening to this interview and you're thinking, Mathew's really cool and he's such an amazing guy, or oh my God, like these people that I listen to are so, maybe far ahead, or I think they're like ahead in the game. And to realize that actually you are exactly like us. I believe that we all have the exact same level of potential. I don't care who it is. So ultimately, if you choose to step up and take action from that place, you can do anything you want.
I love it. Thanks, Olivia. That was amazing. I really appreciate that. Olivia, this is fantastic. One more question I want to ask you is if you could define, now we asked this question before, but if you could define one more time in one sentence, how would you define mindset in your terms? In one sentence only, though.
Your beliefs and thoughts.
Beautiful. And your programs? No? Belief and thoughts?
Beliefs and just beliefs and thoughts. I think it all stems from there.
I love it. I love it. So where can we find you online?
So you can find me online on Facebook under my business page under Olivia Charlet, and I do 5 live streams a week, so you can always find like loads of free value on there. And then under my website under oliviacharlet.com, and there's a free 4-part video masterclass on how to really unleash and let go of all the shoulds and start really unleashing in the world. So something I'm really passionate about. So yeah, those are the 2 best places.
Fantastic. Well, guys, go check Olivia online. Add her to your Facebook page. Go check her videos out. Go get her email list. Her website is oliviacharlet.com, correct?
That's exactly right.
Fantastic, guys. It was a pleasure to have you on, Olivia. I love your energy. I love how present you are right now, and just the value you've shared has just been... I took a page of notes, and I typically don't take notes. I have notes here on my page, and I'm like, this is awesome, Olivia. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was so much fun.
Awesome, guys. Follow her on Facebook, guys. Go to our website, guys. Sign up for information, guys. And wishing everyone here an awesome day, guys. And thank you once again.